In this video, I'll be going over the top 10 Ghost Type Pokémon in Pokémon GO. All of the Ghost Type Pokémon on this list are here because of a combination of their relevance in the Go Battle League, as well as their potential amount of damage they can deal in raid battles and gym battles. The two things that I considered when making this list was the rankings of Ghost Type Pokémon on Pokébattler for raid damage and PvPoke for the Go Battle League rankings. There are certainly a few Pokémon that deal a lot of raid damage and others that are extremely useful in PvP that are not on this list. Thus, if I missed a particular Ghost Type Pokémon that you feel deserves to be on this list, then make sure you mention it in the comments section below. With that said, let's start off with the number 10 Ghost Type Pokémon, and it will be Dusknoir. Now this Pokémon wouldn't have been on this list if not for the Duskull Community Day we recently got. While you probably wouldn't see Dusknoir in the Go Battle League, this Pokémon can be a solid raid damage dealer with the Community Day exclusive move, Shadow Ball. It is also considered a top tier Ghost type as long as it is a Shadow Pokémon. Fortunately, its Shadow form is currently available through Team Go Rocket battles. Now, it may not be the absolute best compared to the other Ghost types on this list, even with its Shadow form, but it is still well deserving to be on this list simply because of the amount of damage it can deal. Now coming in at number 9, it is the legendary Ghost type Pokémon, Giratina Altered Form. Now this Pokémon is an absolute staple in the Ultra League of the Go Battle League. Having one of these in your arsenal could allow you to get some easy wins against most opponents. The reason for this is because Giratina Altered Form has a ton of great stats that allows it to survive against most charge attacks, and it has great type coverage against some of the most common Pokémon used in the Go Battle League. If you have a Giratina Altered Form that is under 2500 combat points, it is definitely one you should use. Of course, it is also a very reliable raid damage dealer as well. If you're lacking in Ghost types, but you have a really good Giratina Altered Form, you could still be a useful raider with this Pokemon powered up. But let's keep going with more Go Battle League Pokemon. Coming in at number 8, it is a fan favorite Ghost type Pokemon that is an absolute menace in the Great League, and it is none other than Sableye. This Pokemon is a meta staple in the Go Battle League. This is of course because it has a unique type combination of Ghost and Dark type. This means it is only susceptible to Fairy types. Unless you're going against a Charm-based team, Sableye will naturally give you an advantage against most Pokemon. This Pokemon also has a Mega Evolution that will eventually be released, making it potentially a useful raid attacker as well. But it will likely be a timeless Pokemon for the Great League and will probably always have a place in the Go Battle League meta. However, if it weren't for the next Pokemon on this list, I would have considered this Pokemon as one of the top Ghost types for the Go Battle League. Coming in at number 7, it is one of the newest Ghost type Pokemon, and it is Trevenant. As of me recording this video, Trevenant ranks number 2 overall in the Great League over at PvPoke.com. It is an absolute monster in the Go Battle League and will likely hold a strong dominance in the Great League for a long time. It is a very hard counter against many of the most common meta picks, and it still wins out against most Pokemon that would typically counter it. This is of course because Trevenant has some really great moves that baits out shields, as well as a unique type combination of Grass and Ghost. Without question, this Pokemon is one you must get if you want to excel in the Go Battle League. But of course, Trevenant is not the only Ghost type Pokemon that is heavily used in the Go Battle League. Coming in at number 6, it is none other than Alolan Marowak. Now Alolan Marowak may not rank as high compared to Trevenant, but this Pokemon is a very reliable one to have for the Go Battle League regardless. When it comes to certain specialty cups like the Halloween Cup or the Kanto Cup, this Pokemon will grant you plenty of wins. This is of course because it has a ton of type coverage and a lot of flexibility with its moves. This allows you to construct several different teams to your liking. For this reason alone, I have this Pokemon pretty high on this list. Next, let's move on to a Ghost-type Pokemon that deserves to be on this list for its iconic status. Coming in at number 5, it is going to be Spiritomb. Now this Pokemon by no means will be overly useful in either raids or the Go Battle League. However, it is considered one of the most iconic Pokemon simply because of the rarity of its shiny form. Plenty of players who have a shiny Spiritomb will use it as a trophy that represents their luck. Now the reason why shiny Spiritomb is so rare compared to most other shinies is because it is only available exclusively through Halloween in-game events, which means you have a very short window every year to get this one particular Pokemon. This obviously makes it similar to Confagrius, which is also exclusive to this season. However, the difference is that Yamask typically spawns quite frequently in the wild during Halloween, but with Spiritomb, you can only get it once through a special research or through very rare research tasks. This is why I would argue that Spiritomb is quite high on this list. Next, let's move on to the top raid attackers. Coming in at number 4 is going to be the mythical Ghost-type Pokemon, Hoopa. Now when it comes to raid attackers, Hoopa is quite underrated. This Pokemon has some really high attack stats and some powerful Ghost-type moves, making it a top choice for raids. It also has a unique type combination of Ghost and Psychic, meaning it will resist quite a lot of moves that some raid bosses might bring. However, it does have a double weakness to Dark and could struggle against other Ghost types. Regardless, this could be a solid Pokemon to use against many Psychic type raid bosses, to which there are many. This is of course because Hoopa will resist a lot of strong Psychic type attacks, giving it a strong advantage. Next, let's talk about a Ghost-type Pokemon that is probably the strongest glass cannon and one of the most versatile raid attackers on this list. Coming in at number 3 is none other than Chandelure. Now this Pokemon is an absolute monster when it comes to raid damage. Because of its insanely high attack stat, it can be one of the top tier counters against some of the hardest raids. It can also be used as a top tier fire type attacker as well, making it one of the most useful raid attackers in the game, as there are plenty of bosses that are weak against either ghost types or fire types. Overall, this is one of the best Pokemon you can have as a raider, and should be prioritized when it comes to which Pokemon you should max out first. However, it does get edged out by the next 2 Pokemon on this list. Coming in at number 2, probably the most iconic Ghost-type Pokemon ever, and it is Gengar. Now in previous lists, I had Gengar as one of the top Pokemon to have as a raid attacker in Pokémon GO, citing that it is a top tier against most Psychic type raid bosses. This is of course because its Mega Evolved form has some of the highest damage per second in the game. Of course, Gengar does suffer a bit because of its poison typing, making it both strong and weak against Psychic types. However, this also gives it the versatility to go up against Fairy type raid bosses like Xerneas and Zacian. Gengar is also a very common pick for the Premier Ultra League, and in some cases, even the Great League. This makes Gengar one of the most useful Pokemon currently in the game. Without question, you will want to get yourself as many Gengar as you can get for all different circumstances in Pokémon GO. This all leads me to the number 1 Ghost-type Pokemon in Pokémon GO, and if you haven't guessed what it is by now, it is going to be the legendary Pokemon Giratina Origin Form. Now I recognize that I already had Giratina on this list with its altered form. However, many veteran players will tell you that both the altered form and the origin form are basically 2 completely separate Pokemon, with the latter being just that much more powerful. Giratina Origin Form is unequivocally the most powerful Ghost-type raid attacker in the game. While it may not deal as much damage as a Mega Gengar, it is still going to be the most reliable because of its capability to deal high amounts of damage while also resisting most damage types out there. This is of course because it has the type combination of Dragon and Ghost. This factor also makes it one of the best Pokemon for the Master League. If you have a 100% IV Giratina Origin Form, then you absolutely need to max it out as soon as possible for the Master League. This one Pokemon can net you plenty of wins, and you will also be at a horrible disadvantage if you don't have one. So there you have it. These were my top 10 Ghost type Pokemon in Pokemon Go. Of course, as the nature of these kinds of things, everyone is going to have a completely different list when they are asked what the top 10 Ghost type Pokemon are. So if there is a particular Ghost type that you think should have been on this list, then definitely share that down below. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.